Alexander the Great and his visionary ambitions. Alexander the Great, one of history's most iconic figures, wasn't just a master tactician and military genius. His aspirations went far beyond the mere conquest of territories. He had a grand vision of uniting cultures, spreading Hellenism, and creating an enduring legacy of integration that would stand the test of time. His empire was a canvas for this vision, and his approach to governance, culture, and diplomacy demonstrated an ambition rarely seen in the ancient world. 1. Vision of a universal empire. From the very beginning, Alexander's ambitions transcended the traditional objectives of warfare. He didn't seek to dominate merely for power's sake. His dream was to create a unified world empire. This empire wouldn't just consist of conquered lands but would embody the fusion of East and West, bringing together vastly different cultures under one rule. Cultural fusion. Alexander's approach to governance reflected a deep understanding of the political and social dynamics of his time. Rather than impose Macedonian customs on the territories he conquered, he adopted many of the customs of the Persian court, which at the time was seen as a revolutionary act. He wore Persian attire and conducted court in a manner that respected both Greek and Persian traditions. He famously adopted the Persian custom of proskynesis, the act of bowing or prostrating before the ruler, a move that infuriated his Macedonian officers, but symbolized his attempt to rule as a hybrid monarch, incorporating both Greek and Eastern elements into his reign. Intermarriage and unity. To cement his vision of integration, Alexander encouraged the intermarriage of his soldiers with local women, most notably organizing the mass wedding at Susa where thousands of his soldiers married Persian women. His own marriage to Roxana, a Bactrian princess, was a symbolic gesture of unity between his Macedonian origins and the East. By fusing the cultures, Alexander hoped to create a new aristocratic class that would help stabilize his empire, bridging the gap between conquerors and conquered. 2. The spread of Hellenism. A significant part of Alexander's vision was not just political but cultural. He wanted to spread Hellenistic, Greek, culture, its art, philosophy, and science, across the vast regions he brought under his control. This vision was not simply about making his empire Greek, it was about sharing the intellectual and cultural achievements of Greece while simultaneously absorbing the traditions of the peoples he conquered. Founding of cities. Alexander established over 20 cities, the most famous being Alexandria in Egypt, which became a beacon of Hellenistic culture. These cities were not just military garrisons but centers of learning and cultural exchange, where Greeks, Persians, Egyptians, and others would come together to share knowledge and ideas. The city of Alexandria, in particular, became renowned for its library, which housed the works of great philosophers, scientists, and scholars from around the world. These urban centers were intended to facilitate the merging of Greek and local cultures, an embodiment of Alexander's vision of a cosmopolitan empire. Intellectual curiosity. Inspired by his mentor, Aristotle, Alexander was driven by a thirst for knowledge. His campaigns weren't just about military dominance, they were also scientific expeditions. He brought along scholars, engineers, geographers, and scientists to record the flora, fauna, and cultures of the lands he encountered. His encounter with Indian philosophers, whom he brought back to his court, reflects his open-mindedness and desire to incorporate diverse intellectual traditions into his empire. A vision of global governance. One of Alexander's most progressive visions was his belief in the potential for different peoples and cultures to coexist under a single government. This was a radical departure from the common practice of empire building, which often relied on the subjugation and oppression of conquered peoples. Religious tolerance. Alexander demonstrated a remarkable level of respect for the religions and customs of the peoples he conquered. In Egypt, he embraced the local belief that he was the son of the god Ammonius, which further solidified his status as a ruler among the Egyptians. This acceptance of local beliefs wasn't just politically savvy, it was a part of Alexander's broader vision of an inclusive empire, where people of different faiths and backgrounds could coexist. Diplomacy over force. In contrast to many rulers of his time, Alexander often used diplomacy to achieve his goals. His respect for Persian aristocracy and his willingness to allow Persian nobles to maintain positions of power after the fall of the Achaemenid Empire exemplified this. Instead of ruling as a conqueror, Alexander sought to integrate the local ruling elites into his administration, thus ensuring stability while promoting a sense of unity among the diverse populations of his empire. 4. The dream of conquering the known world. Alexander's ambition knew no bounds. After subduing the Persian Empire, he looked eastward, with his campaigns extending into the Indus Valley in India. His drive to conquer even further, perhaps towards China, is speculated by historians. However, his troops, exhausted from years of campaigning, eventually refused to march any further, forcing Alexander to turn back. Indian campaign. Alexander's battles in India were some of the most challenging of his career. His famous encounter with King Porus on the banks of the Hydaspes River showcased his tactical brilliance but also revealed his admiration for worthy adversaries. After defeating Porus, Alexander didn't execute him. Instead, he reinstated him as a local ruler, further demonstrating his policy of respect for local customs and governance. Unfulfilled dreams. Despite his ambition to conquer the entire known world, Alexander's untimely death at 32 meant that many of his plans remained unfulfilled. He may have aspired to continue his conquests into Arabia or even as far as China, but his empire fractured soon after his death. 5. The legacy of a visionary. While Alexander's empire did not survive intact after his death, his vision left an indelible mark on history. The Hellenistic world that emerged after his conquests was a testament to his ability to spread Greek culture while simultaneously fostering a rich exchange of ideas between East and West. The Hellenistic period, the centuries following Alexander's death, saw the rise of Hellenistic kingdoms, such as the Ptolemaic dynasty in Egypt and the Seleucid Empire in Asia, which continued to promote the fusion of Greek and Eastern cultures. Greek became the lingua franca across much of the Mediterranean and Near East, facilitating trade, diplomacy, and the exchange of ideas. A visionary or a ruthless conqueror. While Alexander is often celebrated as a visionary, his methods of achieving his goals were not without brutality. His campaigns resulted in the deaths of countless soldiers and civilians. However, his vision of a culturally integrated world, where knowledge, art, and ideas could flow freely across borders, remains one of the most profound legacies of the ancient world. Alexander the Great's vision of a unified world empire was revolutionary. His embrace of different cultures, spread of Hellenistic ideals, and ambitious goals for global governance set him apart from other conquerors of his time. While his empire may not have endured politically, the cultural fusion he inspired created a lasting legacy that continued to shape the ancient world long after his death. The world he imagined, a place where diverse peoples could come together under one rule, may not have fully materialized, but his legacy of cultural exchange and intellectual curiosity still resonates today. Don't forget to comment and subscribe to CyberTheo and check my links below. Thank you for watching this video, and watch out for more of my videos on tech, health, philosophy, and historical events.